At this time, I'll call to order the City of Joliet pre-council meeting for June 16th, 2025. Mayor Terry Darcy presiding. Mayor?
Okay. We'll begin with roll call. Mayor Darcy?
Here.
Councilman Cardenas?
Here.
Councilman Clement?
Here.
Councilman Hug?
Here.
Councilwoman Ibarra is absent. She did let me know that she would not be in attendance this evening. Councilman Moreno?
Here.
Councilman Mudrin?
Here.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Here.
Councilwoman Reardon?
Here.
Okay. Next is citizens to be heard on agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to speak under citizens to be heard on agenda items this evening? Okay. Seeing none. Next, the city manager will review tomorrow night's actionable items.
I know Public Service just went through a lot of these, so I won't belabor them, but I'll go through with the important details. Tomorrow we'll have committee reports from Communication Technology and Information Systems, Finance, and Public Service. Consent agenda, as always, approval of minutes, invoices to be paid. Council Memo 34525, award of contract for the 2025 traffic signal materials purchase order number 3 to Traffic Control Corporation in the amount of $56,156. This is at Jefferson and Stryker, and ComEd damaged our traffic light, so we will submit a reimbursement claim to them upon completion of the repairs. Council Memo 34625, award of contract for the County Line Road, Van Dyne Road to Kennedy Drive roadway improvement projects to PT Farrow Construction in the amount of $895,000.06. This is a roadway widening on the far west side from 2 to 4 lanes. Throughout many of these, as the committee heard from Greg Ruddy, a lot of this is about Rebuild Illinois funds as opposed to MFT funds. And so they're just two different buckets of funds that we have. But MFT can be used at any time, and Rebuild Illinois funds have to be used by the end of June. And so that's why we'll see quite a few items on this agenda. And then when we roll into resolutions, there will be a lot of housekeeping resolutions just about what we go through for Rebuild Illinois. So just trying, by law, we have to allocate these funds to a project or we lose them. So that's why we'll have a lot of those today. Okay, Council Memo 34725, award a contract to Videotech for physical access control project at Fire Station 1 in the amount of $34,161. We'll be outfitting Station 1, converting from like physical keys to actual key cards. This has been a citywide effort for about 5 years now, and we're just, we finished with the police department, now we're on to the fire department, and we're making changes at other locations as well, so it's just easy for people to swipe in and out, and easy for us to keep track of, etc. All right. Council Memo 34825, award of contract to Lenovo for the 2025 PC Lifestyle Program in the amount of $76,372.70. By utilizing this PC Lifestyle Program, the IT department will replace laptops every 4 years and desktops every 5 years, in addition to replacing peripherals on an as-needed basis. So this is really just the responsible work of our IT department and kind of looking to the future on keeping up with technology, so our work product does as well. So kudos to Chris Sternal and the IT department. Council Memo 34925, approval of professional services agreement for the geotechnical services for the West Side WWTP expansion project to Seco Consultants in the amount of $51,965. This is for the expansion of our far west side treatment plant, and they were the lowest bidder. Council Memo 35025, approved purchase of replacement sluice gates for the East Side wastewater treatment plant from LAI and Associates Inc. in the amount of $41,700. So the original gates were installed in 1970 and no longer seal and need to be replaced to ensure tank isolation. So this is just reached its the end of its life. Yeah. Council Memo 35125, approve cost adjustment for 13 Navistar chassis purchases from 2023 for $256,313.20. So due to supply chain and production issues, the vehicles are being received 2 model years later with associated price increases that equals about $10,000 per vehicle per year. So funding has been accounted for and is in the budget because we did anticipate this 2-year delay of these.
Mayor? And to add on to that, to what Beth had said, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, if I go off topic here too. So we have to do this. We don't have an option here. They did not lock them in. Navistar didn't. We are looking at other suppliers moving forward that would be more amicable to locking prices in. We were allowed to lock the prices in on the upfits, which were the dumps and everything associated, but Navistar wouldn't allow locking in. So we're looking at other options, correct?
That's correct. Moving forward, we're looking at other suppliers or other models of truck. The concern is if we don't move forward with this purchase, we might not be able to get those other vehicles immediately. These we know we can get, in the next several months. So.
And we wouldn't really save anything at all much because obviously the new, I'm not going to say which ones you're looking at, that's up to you guys to look through, but the new suppliers or manufacturers aren't going to give us 2023 prices. So it would be roughly the same price for the current model. But moving ahead, having a manufacturer that will lock it in if they have supply chain issues and say, hey, it's 2025, if we deliver it in 27, we guarantee the price. That's what we're looking to do for the future.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if no further questions on that one, Council Memo 35225, approval of amendment number 2 to the Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 professional engineering services for the Joliet centralized traffic management system in the amount of $149,919.73. Oh, sorry, to Iteris Inc. in the amount of $149,919.73. So this is one of the many that we'll be using Rebuild Illinois funding for. Council Memo 35325, approval of change order number 1 for the Well 28D rehabilitation project to Great Lakes Water Resources Group in the amount of $26,668.65. Here we needed to rebuild both the motor and the pump, and that's why we need this extra amount of money to complete the needed repairs. Council Memo 35425, approve change order number 2 for Olympic Boulevard, Hobolt Road improvement projects to PT Farrow Construction in the amount of $248,128.09, and payment request number 12 and final in the amount of $414,880.37. So this is the Cullinan development for the rear access. This change order shifts work from the bridge contract to this contract at the same price and using the same funding. It's been completed. Council Memo 35525, approve change order number 3 for Olympic Boulevard improvements to deconstruction, a deduction in the amount of $1,809,268.20, and payment request number 15 and final in the amount of $226,410.84. This reduction is a result of not having to do the more complicated sewer work that we thought we would need to do, so there's a savings there. Council Memo 35625, approval to upgrade furniture, tables, chairs, and podium in the Joliet Police Department Community Room from Midwest Office Interiors in the amount of $47,180.95. The funds are available to purchase this furniture from the federal asset forfeiture. Council Memo 35725, approve the payment of the 2025 wastewater discharge permit fees to the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, IEPA, in the amount of $152,500. So Illinois law requires us to be a part of these and pay these fees. If there's any further questions, I'm sure Allison would be happy to provide any color for you. Okay, moving on, that's all consent. Moving on to agenda item, Council Memo 35925, approval of a new position. So this is really an exciting time for Joliet because great, exciting things are happening. And we are such a large city that in order for us to be able to organize these big events that we really want to have and to be able to be properly using by park and getting people down to the square. We're going to spend this $20 million on this beautiful square, but we have to make sure we have it programmed, et cetera. I'm really excited about presenting this to you. I just have a few written comments and then happy to answer any questions that you may all have about it. The proposed Director of Cultural Affairs and Special Events position is an important step towards streamlining city operations, strengthening partnerships, and positioning Joliet as a premier destination in the region. Right now, responsibilities for events are spread across multiple departments with no designated lead. This role will unify our approach to coordinating, marketing, and managing city-sponsored events in a more consistent and deliberate way. Furthermore, this individual will work directly with event organizers to enhance guest experiences and maximize the economic impact of events in our community. The role will also engage residents to better understand the kinds of events and cultural programming they want to see. It will seek sponsorships to help offset costs and serve as a liaison to key partners such as the City Center Partnership, Heritage Corridor, sports leagues, community stakeholders, and the Arts Commission. Although the position was included in our draft budget, we delayed it to align with the timing of the City Square's completion. However, large-scale events require long lead times of up to a year or more, so we need to begin that planning process now. So that's why I'm bringing it now. This model is already working well in surrounding communities like Aurora, New Lenox, Lockport, Naperville, Schaumburg, and others. These communities have seen positive results, including increased tourism, stronger community engagement, more interest from economic development partners, and greater hospitality revenue. It's time for Joliet to take that same step forward, and I would ask for the mayor and council's support for this position. And now we're happy to take any questions you all have. I just want to be as transparent as possible for everybody at home and the council.
I personally think it's a great idea. And we're putting all this money into our downtown, and we can't just expect this to happen organically. It's not going to happen organically. That's not how it works. Just like you said, you need lead time to get these events coordinated. Anybody that's ever worked on an event knows what it takes to get something together.
Yeah.
And we want to keep it like happening all the time, where it's like, are you going downtown this weekend?
Yes.
You know, are you going? You know, when we were kids, are you going to St. Joe's Park? You know, are you going downtown? What do they got going on this weekend? We want to keep it going and keep it buzzing, and you know, as long as it's fun and active, we won't have any problems. It'll be great.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great idea. I think we really need this position.
Thank you.
So, just speaking of the IHSA, so Heritage Corridor people
Yeah.
do a lot of work with that.
Yes.
This would be something that this person would coordinate with?
Yeah, coordinate with them and helping.
And other groups, I'm sure.
And other
but-
groups, yeah, citywide. Like, this is not just for the city square, it's for citywide events, and, you know, we're hoping to have larger and more frequent events that are free to the public, and that kind of highlight the diversity of our communities as well.
And is this something that we could potentially get a report back after 3 months, 6 months, or whatever, on what all was accomplished from this
Absolutely.
position?
absolutely. And I think we'll be able to measure in dollars as well, because I think with the added events, this position, and sponsorships and everything else, this position will pay for itself.
In the bigger picture, I agree with Sherry that this isn't one of those build them and they'll come. We need to make them come.
We need to make them come, yeah. But it's fun in Joliet, so they'll want to come.
I buy that.
I have a question. What is the salary range on this?
The salary range, Kathy, can you, I think it's a management 2 position, and it ranges from,
It is a management 2 position. The starting salary on this role would be $111,000, with a targeted higher salary between $140,000 and $160,000.
Thank you.
Mayor. Beth, is this person going to take over Bicentennial Park, or going to be handling all that as well?
they'll be overseeing all events, so they'll be helping the current employees at By Park kind of professionalize operations and be sure that we're operating at the highest level.
I mean, and for me, like, if I don't get a concern, a complaint, or we need help from the city for a tree or for this, can this person be that go-to person? It's what I'm running into is when I call for a tree or a pothole or a this or that, sometimes it gets done, sometimes it doesn't. And if I don't look at my book or get another call from that person, it just seems like it's more frequent. And we can do a better job at always, doing better for the residents. And that's what I'm trying to look for, is that go-to person that I can call, and they're going to make sure you're going to give them the authority to make that happen. And that's
Yeah.
what has to happen.
That's no
can't-
problem for
Right,
us
I
to
can't, for me, I don't want to keep coming back asking for the same request.
I agree. You shouldn't have to.
Right, we should, all of us up here should be able to make a call, and it should be able to get done. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm wondering, if this person would be that person, or if you can give this person that authority that we can call and we make it happen. Because right now I call like 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to get things done here at the city, and it gets frustrating at times, and a lot of times we deliver,
Yeah.
but sometimes we don't. It falls through the
Right.
cracks.
Right,
you
and
know,
I think that that's going to take some coordination with Public Works, Public Utilities, everybody involved in some of these. I mean, we do have the Citizen View app, which is very helpful, but I agree with you that you need a personal touch sometimes to make sure it can get done. And a call back to you saying, hey, I got this from you. It was fixed as of yesterday, so you can follow up with your constituents. So whether that's this person or someone else, we can absolutely do that. And I know that Public Works, they do their own surveying as well, but this person will be all over the city, so he or she will have an opportunity to, see what's going on too.
I just like having that phone call, and we can
Yeah,
touch
no,
base
and you deserve that. That's absolutely the
So-
type of service that we should deliver. You're right.
Thank you.
Mayor? Beth, this is a new position that needs approval of the council.
Yes, sir.
But I don't see an accompanying budget amendment. How
We
would
won't
they-
need to make a budget amendment, and I'll help Kevin explain those details.
So when we adopted the 25 budget, it included a number of new positions, 6 of which, the recruitment period has occurred. There was budgeted as of Jan 1, but some of those either were filled in March, April, or still open, looking for qualified candidates. Based on those 6 positions, we've accumulated a savings of $266,000 to date. This position, I just looked at an estimated salary of $150 with insurance, is a cost of $96,000 for the rest of the year. So there's sufficient funding within the current budget to fund this position if created. Therefore, you wouldn't need a budget amendment. It would be then included in the 26 budget.
Are we eliminating any other positions so that we permanently won't see an increase? In other
No.
words, I understand what he's saying. It's not really a savings. It's tax money that hasn't been spent yet, and that's a good thing for taxpayers. You call it savings, Kevin, and I tip my hat, but you're referring to the fact that we couldn't get them hired in January, so we didn't pay their salaries for 3 or 4 or 5 months. Next year, when they're all filled completely, they will be getting their full salaries, and this will be an additional expense on next year's budget. So when do we do the budget amendment? Because the money that you're attaching to it now won't exist next year.
Correct. It would be part of the 26 budget.
Right. So maybe we should wait till the 26 budget to take a look at that. We've added over 10% new positions since 2022. 2022, 23, and 24, we added 10% new positions. Not all were police and fire. There were some police and fire put in there, and we needed to do that, and we brought those levels up. There's a lot of other positions. We had a grant writer, which I'm told, is it correct, Beth, the grant writer position is now open?
It is open.
Okay, and saw no return on that. There was never a presentation, at least, claiming a return. We expanded the Economic Development Department, and I've seen no return yet. So maybe we should wait for the returns on the 10% new position, which is what we've already added in the last 2.5–3 years, before we start adding more positions in the middle of a budget year, would be my position.
And my only response to that is we waited because we wanted to be closer, and that was maybe a strategic fail on my part, but we wanted to wait until a person could be hired and hit the ground running to really get all these events in like a year for us. And I'll also add that, in 2007 and 2008, a lot of positions at the city were eliminated. We haven't really, we have recovered some from that, but we haven't fully recovered from all of that. And I literally don't have enough people to do all the improvements that I'd like to do. And that's why I'm coming to you with it now. But I understand where you're coming from, and I appreciate those thoughts.
Yeah, and actually, we're awfully close to what I believe it was almost 1,200 was our FTE top out. And there will be those that will tell you in 2010 and 2011, when we are named the 15th most likely city to be bankrupt in 5 years by Business Weekly, we were bloated then, and we're starting to bloat now. We need to slow this down. We're hiring all kinds of new positions, and we've got no return on those new positions yet, and we don't have any backdoor on these. So what happens if this person doesn't provide anything new? It's just somebody filling a position. I don't have a lot of confidence that they will. We do programming. Programming has been done by the City Center Partnership. Are we going to withhold, I think it's $50,000 or is it $80,000 a year from the City Center Partnership that we now budget for them to do that programming? It's, it can't have both.
Well,
It's
I
all
would
about
say that
balance.
there are a lot of needs for Joliet, and I would just ask that you allow us to show you that we can do this and really improve our staff and really be providing top-of-the-line service to our community. Like we hear from the community all the time, there might be the Mexican Independence Day Parade, but what about a different cultural group of people wants to have something like that? Like, these are the things. We have a very diverse community. We need to be reaching out to all of our constituents and getting their ideas for things that they want too. I mean, some of this will be free things for everyone to come to and enjoy, and some won't, and we'll get sponsorships. And I really believe that this is the right move for the city of our size, and just observing other communities around us who have been very successful at this. And that's all I can say is, let me prove it to you.
Can you provide some quantifiable data from these other communities you named?
Sure, we can provide it too. Yeah.
'Cause without that, I won't even consider as one member of the council.
Yeah, no problem.
But some quantifiable data that they're showing.
We're happy to provide.
We haven't gotten any presentations from Economic Development, not the committee.
We can
They
set
present
that up, too.
From the grants department prior to her leaving. I don't know that they ever worked out. So it's one thing to say, let us prove it to
Oh,
you.
they brought in quite a bit of money, and I think that we can, put that together for Dustin and your department for grants, and also economic development. I was talking to Paulina the other day. I think she's ready to give another update, so.
Happy to show off for you, Mr. Hug.
Okay, that's all I have, Mayor.
I really kind of pushed for this position myself. We weren't ready for it for this year because I knew we were going to be torn up. I knew we were going to tear up streets, the city center. But I got to tell you, I meet with a lot of prospective big developers coming here. I just had a meeting with a big company that wants to bring in 4 buildings of 1 million square feet and 2,000 employees. And they said, how do we get invested? How do we become part of your community? Those are the kinds of things we're not doing. We got major companies here. We got Amazon, we got Home Depot, but nobody's knocking on their doors and saying, hey, we want to have this event in town. Would you help us? You go to the Taste of Joliet. You got Amazon there, you got Home Depot, and nobody's there. You know why? Nobody's knocking on their door, but that's a Park District event. We have schools here that we could probably bring into the fold of utilizing their facilities for these kids that need after-school programs. We got 40,000 kids under the age of 18 years old. So if we don't start producing things for them to do and come up with great ideas and get some of these major corporations involved in putting some of their investment in our kids and in our community, it is an expense if the person doesn't do anything. But I look at things as an expense or an investment. And to me, this is a great investment for our community. We're continuing to change the light of how people see Joliet. And if we continue to talk about everything being an expense, you're right, we flush money down the toilet. But if it's an investment, those people can knock on those doors and get us some investment and get us some grant money and start bringing programs to the city for our kids and our community and our quality of life. That's an investment, not an expense. So that's the way I look at it, and I have pushed for this, and I said last year I don't think it's time because I didn't think we were ready. But when that square is done, you know, we just watched all these kids come in from the tournament. What are they going to do when they're done? We had nothing for them to do. Can you imagine we got a social district down there with a city center square, and we have big parties for all the baseball players? Those people are going to stick around. They're going to go to our restaurants. They're going to stay in our hotels. That's just one event. And Jan, you mentioned we're going to get NASCAR back, didn't you?
We're talking about it. but
Okay, if we get
somebody go
NASCAR-
make contact. That's why I brought it
Well,
up.
okay. I mean, those are the kinds of things we need to do. If we don't do these things, we're just going to continue to do what we're doing, which,
And not only NASCAR, but women's softball. It's
exactly,
a big deal up north right now.
it's
And I
everywhere.
mentioned that to Beth as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm
But
all
to
for
me,
it.
that's part of economic development as well.
This is completely unique to that, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's-
But I'm just looking at both sides. And then, no disrespect to Councilman Clement, but he's thinking about this person can be the go-to person to call for this, that, and the other thing. Well, if this person that you want is going to be doing all this other stuff, they're not going to be having time to call us about, they can't be our go-to person. What we need is a go-to person. Because a lot of times I'll call Mr. Ruddy, I'll call Allison, I'll call Dustin, I'll call Beth, I'll call Delia, can you help me out here? Because sometimes you just can't get an answer and citizens are upset because they can't get answers. And we're working on trying to, you know, instead of calling this person, then we gotta go on to the next person and explain this again, explain that again, so.
Okay, perfect. We're fixing it right now. In the future, if you have any concerns, please direct them to Lauren O'Hara, our city clerk.
She's got a lot on her plate too.
She does, but she's very, very capable.
Oh, no, I've called her for things too, but I
Yeah.
know everything else, you know.
Yeah, if you're-
I'm talking about the go-to person.
If you're worried about like too many people you have to call, I totally get that.
Yeah.
And so just send them to Lauren.
I don't mind, it's just that it puts they have something else to do as well.
Yeah.
Mayor, so yeah, I also am supportive of this position. You know, for many years, I think I've been involved in volunteering between the Spanish Center, you know, just the different, like you said, the Park District, all the events that technically happen in Joliet happen by nonprofits that are putting together events. And it seems like anytime we try to have an event that has to be done by a bunch of volunteers, so it always seems like, I mean, they're great events, but they're tough to organize when you got, you know, just everyday citizens just trying to put together something to have something happen. I think at the city of our size, we should be definitely hosting more, you know, 5Ks and you know, again, having an empty NASCAR racetrack right now where we don't do enough events at, in my opinion. You know, and this is, like you said, citywide. I think it's important that we, you know, because it does go hand in hand with economic development and tourism, is where people travel, where, you know, we're going to Kentucky for a half marathon / 5K bourbon race that's going to happen in their downtown area. You know, but it's not being organized by a nonprofit, it's being organized by another organization, it's being done with the city. But again, hotels are packed, everything's packed, businesses are doing. You know, I know a lot of friends of ours that do that. We go all over the place that, you know, when you travel, you're going for a concert, you're going for something. So again, even working with our partners like the Slammers and say, how do we work with them to make sure we're getting more concerts in our area? How do we get more, you know, to just say that our biggest event or our biggest thing in Joliet right now is the Taste of Joliet, which is an amazing event, but that's our Park District's fundraiser, right? And we need to do more as a city. You know, I mentioned it where, you know, why don't we have our Memorial Day, you know, a Memorial Day parade or holiday, something, 4th of July or Labor Day. Like, we don't do anything for these special other events, mentioning like the Mexican Independence Day parade or any other parade. You know, we don't have a St. Patrick's Day parade. Again, just generate more stuff to get people to come down, to then frequent the businesses, to then, you know, again, just get that that synergy going in our area, right? And it's not just downtown, like you said, it's all throughout Joliet. I think we could have a lot more uses of the Route 66 racetrack. And again, you need somebody knocking on those doors to be working to make these plans together, finding these grants that are going to help us pay for it. And so, yeah, I support this position. Thank you.
Thank you.
We should invite the Bears down and take a look at the
Hey,
track. We could build them a stadium.
saying.
You never know unless you try.
You got to.
Okay,
Mayor? It says it's going to be a full-time job, correct?
correct.
So I know most of our events are in the summertime. Can we, for those couple months that it's wintertime, obviously we're in Chicagoland, right? Illinois, we had the wintertime, so they would help get more events during that wintertime, basically.
Yes, yeah. The idea is that they be year-round.
Year-round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep. And to supplement, like, some of the ideas that we've had are, you know, like IHSA baseball was around. If we could have like had a free concert or something downtown and then they're already there, or Friday night they come in and they see whoever the guest speaker is and then maybe fun party for them after, or like just building other events around certain events that come, so they just come to enjoy our great city and stay longer.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There are no further questions. License and permit applications. Council Memo 36125, issuance of Class CG liquor license at 2565 Plainfield Road for a speed trek. Okay, please proceed.
Item 3, Mayor, City Council, hello. Item 361-25 is an application for the issuance of a Class CG liquor license at 2565 Plainfield Road, Speed Tracks, DBA OM Joliet Oil, Inc. A Class CG license authorizes the sale of alcoholic beverages at a gas station for consumption off the premise. The Liquor Commissioner is recommending approval of this license. Any questions?
So it's just carry out.
Just to carry out, correct. Correct.
Larry, what are your thoughts on that? That's a new one on Route 30.
Yeah, I didn't give it a lot of thought. Let's discuss that tomorrow.
Okay.
Make a final.
No questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to ordinances. Council Memo 36325, ordinances associated with 1507 East Cass Street. There is an ordinance approving a variation of use to allow a 2-unit residence in R3, which is 1 and 2 family residential use, in the R2A single family residential zoning district located at 1507 East Cass Street. And then there's an ordinance repealing a variation of use to allow the continuation of an existing pizza business, B1, neighborhood business use, in an R2A zoning district located at 1507 East Cass Street. So, Dustin, please correct me if I'm wrong, but what we're doing here is getting rid of the pizza place and converting this home into a 2-family residential unit.
In essence, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. Any questions? That passed ZBA 6-0. Council Memo 36425, ordinance amending Chapter 19, Article 2 of the City of Joliet Code of Ordinances to establish 2-hour free street parking Wednesdays, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. in zones A, B, and C in the downtown area. I'm going to let Greg take over, and we have a map of where these zones will be right next to me here. And I know that there's been, you know, some requests about like how much will the signs cost, what will the effective date be, because we're going to have to order them, and so September 1st will probably be the effective date. Greg can talk more about the cost of the signs because they take a little bit of time to come in.
Yeah, so for the signage, in order to be able to enforce this properly, the drivers need to be able to see a sign from where they're parked. So there'll be an extensive amount of signage installed, probably in the range of, this is probably a little bit on the higher end, say $25,000. And there's about 5 to 7 week lead time to get those ordered, and then we'll install them. How we install them is kind of up in the air. If we use existing staff, it'll be an extended period. My preference would probably be to hire it out and just have somebody come in and blast through all the signs and be done with it. We have one sign installer for the city, so that would take an extended amount of time. So this topic has been discussed for a very long time. We've gone back and forth on times and zones and when this should be implemented and where. So where we ended up was with 3 zones, Zone A, B, and C. Zone A is sort of what I'd call the core of downtown. It's from Washington Street on the south end up to Cass Street on the north, and then from Joliet on the west end over to the railroad tracks on the east. Zone B is Cass Street north up towards Crowley Avenue, and again, west would be Joliet Street, east would be the railroad tracks, and then Zone C is sort of around the Joliet Slammers Stadium along Jefferson Street. It's east of the, Jefferson Street and Cass Street as well in that area. So it would be Eastern Avenue west to the railroad tracks. We looked at another of other communities, talked to our consultant, and settled on the 2-hour time limit. Felt that that would create turnover in the parking for the businesses and restaurants in the downtown. The question has come up, why not just make it free all day long? I think we're a little bit unique as far as communities in the Chicagoland area go, where a lot of them are not the county seat. And so because the county courthouse is here, we have the courthouse patrons, and then we have also businesses like law firms. So the concern is if you made it free all day long, that somebody who worked in a business or was going to the courthouse would just park all day on the street for free. And then that does not create the turnover that the restaurants and the businesses and the bars want. So there's a wide variety. I would say generally 2 to 3 hours is common for free parking. We looked at a couple communities that did this recently, Aurora and Ottawa. And when I say recently, within the last 10 years, they went from paid parking to free parking. Aurora is a little complex in the core of the downtown at 60 minutes and then 90 minutes, and then as you go out further, it expands. Ottawa has 3-hour parking, but we looked at quite a few other communities. They're generally in the 2-hour range. Naperville's 2 hours, Elgin's 2 hours, Arlington Heights 2 hours, Wheaton 2 hours. So that seems to be a pretty common number for the parking. Most of these communities are using license plate reader technology for enforcement, which is what we propose. If you remember, late last year we bought license plate reader cameras, which which are installed on a vehicle. It's ready to go when we're ready to go. So a vehicle will circulate the downtown, determine if a vehicle has been there more 2 hours, and then have the potential to issue a violation. At that point, the violation would be $30. And that's kind of a high-level look at this. The parking deck will still remain a paid parking area, as well as the commuter lots and the off-street lots. The thought is, again, if you're going to be coming downtown and staying downtown all day, you pay for parking, but if you're here for a brief visit, you have free parking. There's a few streets on here as well I forgot to mention. I'll call them the major streets: Chicago Street, Cass Street, Jefferson Street, where overnight you won't be able to park between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., and that's to allow the street sweeping vehicles and cleaners to get through. The street sweepers will come through those other areas, but I don't think they see as much debris as some of those main streets do. So that's, again, a high-level look at what we're proposing here.
Mayor. Yeah, I'm so glad that we're at this point now. I know I spoke about it for the last few years, and we're at this point. I don't know if the 2-hour parking limit is enough. Maybe it should be 2.5. I don't know, but I'm willing to do something, because that's what I hear from the business owners and people that come downtown. The overnight, I don't think the 3 to 5. I think there should be some overnight availability. I know we have to clean the streets, but there are people that work in some establishments and they live downtown and they really have nowhere to park. So that's kind of the issue. I'm still going to support this, but I would like to see, maybe, 10 to 7 or something. You could park overnight or something like that. I just think the 3 to 5 it really doesn't do anything.
So for that, you will still be able to park on most of the streets during those hours. It's just the main drags is the one you won't be able to park on.
So it'll be Chicago, Cass.
Yeah.
I was under the assumption it was everything in this A, B, and C.
No, it is not.
That's how I read it here in this.
Yeah, of course, I don't have the memo in front of me at the moment, but it's not all the streets.
I mean, as long as some people can still find a place to park downtown.
Yeah,
because they live in apartments, so I'm okay, I have a place to park, but some others do not.
Yeah, no, the majority of the streets you will be able to park during those time periods. It's just that, like I said, the main drags, the main thoroughfares, we're proposing that no parking be allowed on those so the cleaning vehicles can come through.
Yeah, it says in the memo here, including Jefferson Street between Joliet and Mayor Archul's Drive, Cass Street between Joliet Street and Eastern Avenue, and Chicago Street between Washington Street and Jackson Street. That's where the overnight ones will be.
Thank you for all your effort on this. I'm going to support it, so.
You know what, I think something else that's worthy just to get out there, we're putting up these zones A, B, and C. The only purpose they are there for is that, from my understanding, is that you have 2-hour parking in, say you're in zone A. You can move to zone C and still have another 2 hours of parking. But that's all that we have these zones for. Is that not correct?
That's correct. When we were originally looking at this, we just had the whole downtown as one area. A concern was brought up, well, what if I have business at the state of Illinois, which is or the Will County office building on the north end of downtown. And then I do that in the morning and I want to come back and I want to go to dinner at one of the restaurants on Chicago Street. I'm going to get a violation. So we took that into consideration and broke it up into zones so that you could park downtown at a different location. We kind of looked at the major areas, the stuff east of the railroad tracks is kind of a Slammers game. What if I was, again, at a business for lunch and then I wanted to come to a Slammers game later in the day? Would I be able to park over there? And that's why we kind of broke it up into the different zones to, again, allow the turnover, allow people to visit without being punitive.
Without them moving 10 feet over.
Correct, yeah.
Mayor? So Greg, there's still a number of areas here, I'll say on the fringe, that have meters at this time, correct?
There's meters all throughout the downtown. All the meters will come down as part of this.
All meters, even if they're outside the zones here?
That's correct, yeah. So there's locations that don't really see a lot of meter usage, like Joliet Street, for instance, south of Jackson Street. Nobody ever really parks there. And there's also areas that are somewhat residential. Again, kind of on the north end of downtown, up by Jackson Street, that are somewhat residential. And we've removed some of those meters over the years to allow residents to park there. There's not a lot of businesses there. This is really intended to generate turnover for the businesses. So all the meters, again, will be removed as part of this. The areas that you see colored here, the blue, green, and orange, those will be the areas that are enforced.
So besides the deck, the city has a couple lots that has meters in them today.
That's correct. There's what's called the Barrett's lot off Joliet Street that will remain. We've got the Metro lots, those will remain as paid as well.
Thank you.
Mayor? Just to clarify, Councilman Mugger brought up a good point that might illustrate some confusion, so people don't get confused. The only thing affected by this proposed ordinance is the street parking, metered or otherwise, whether it's old-fashioned meters, a few that are left, or it's the electronic metering that we do now. Surface parking lots and decks are not affected. You still pay.
That's correct.
And then I had a question. It's about time we did this. It's the only place in town. There's other places that are business districts within the city of Joliet from border to border, and there's no paid parking there on the streets. But we do have to get a clear picture. Kevin, what is the total parking fund revenues that, it brings in? Approximate,
So it's about $715,000 in 2024.
And how much would be lost?
So the meters themselves represented 142,000 of that. Now keep in mind that as people who went out and fed the meter, where those folks will now generally have to go to the deck or a paid parking area, they would be prohibited from the street. So working with Greg, talking to some other communities, it's tough to tell how much of that is truly going to go away. There is some of that will actually move instead of being eliminated, because those parkers will have to now move to the deck, otherwise they'll get a citation, which they're not going to want to pay. Would be more expensive than the parking in the deck or one of the paid parking lots. So on the high end, you'll lose 140, more likely something less than that.
Okay, which makes sense. I
Yep.
appreciate that. I think that's the only question I have, because, yeah, I think that 140 out of 715, you said?
It was 718.
18,000. So it's, you know, a smaller percentage of that amount, but it will also increase some activity there by doing this. It's a little outdated, I think, to have the parking meters down there, so. All right, I think that's the only question I have, Mayor.
Mayor, I have a question. Now, are people going to know where the ABCs are? Are they going to be colored? Because there's a thing in here that says reparking outside of the 2-hour limit within this same zone between the hours of 7 and 7. How will they know if they're going to move their car if they're out of that original zone?
The signage will indicate what zone you're in. It'll be color coded as
And then
well.
how will people know about the restrictions?
That will be on the sign as well. It'll say no reparking within the zone between the
So
the
they'll
hours.
all be clearly
That's
for
correct.
people that parked on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Joe.
The cost of the violation, how much is that?
$30.
30, okay.
Yeah.
Mayor? Question. Is there a market for, you know, because it was just, what, 5 years ago that we bought the hardware for the remote parking? Is there a market for that secondhand?
Probably not, because that technology changes so quickly.
getting
The
older
stuff we
already.
have is, you know, I don't want to say it's outdated, but it's probably nearing the end of its service life.
The only concern I have, and it's your job and your team's job, Greg, you know what I'm saying, the signs, it's going to be a little confusing to people, the concept of you can't park in this zone the rest of the day. Some people might misunderstand. It's going to be your job. We got to make it clear to the people what it is. Some people might think, oh, zone, do you mean like the zone that I'm in right now? That's the parking spot I'm in now. You can't be in the same spot, you know, and you can't write a book on the sign.
No, and we'll put as much information on there as we can without making it, you know, a novel. And we think, we've seen it in other communities. Some of the signs are pretty clear and others have quite a bit of information on them, which I find confusing.
To me, just right.
Yeah, there's communities that say you can't park on this block face within 3 hours, and what does block face mean? Nobody understands that. So we're going to try and make the signs as clear as possible.
I think a QR code would be handy on there too for young people like myself that use that stuff all the time, high technology.
We could look at that, yeah.
I think this is part of the overall big picture parking plan for the city of Joliet. I know we're going to automate the deck, which we've got over 700 spots on. I think we'll make that 140 up when we automate everything. We talked about having pay stations in the Rialto. If you parked at the deck, you can pay there and go use that to get out. And I really see this as a step forward for all of us. And I know Greg had a full head of hair when he started this project, and get a little recession there, but that's okay.
Well, a little bit, yeah.
Looking good.
Thanks for the compliment.
Thanks for your efforts, though. I know we put you through the ringer a few times, and thank you.
Time to buy a hat, I guess.
You know, Mayor, the only suggestion I would have is maybe in the first 6 months of the year after we get these signs up, maybe we'd be very liberal with warning tickets up front for the first 6 months, year.
Sure, we can have that discussion with the
Yeah, I think something
PD
we should
and the
explore to
PEOs.
give people a second chance to get used to it. After 6 months or a year, they should be able to learn the behavior.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Council Memo 36525, ordinance approving a street name change for Ademic Lane to Walter Ademic Lane between Ruth Fitzgerald Drive and Frank Turk Drive. This passes ZBA 8-0.
8-0.
Yeah,
Are there 8 people on there with the?
yeah, the one before they had 6-0
Well, I've never
because
seen
there
8
was.
before. It's usually 6 or something because someone's usually absent.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we have one to
Glad
fill.
they were there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mayor, could you, Beth, explain,
Yeah,
you know, this is in my district, but it's a matter of consistency in mapping.
right. So the lane is in Mayfair Residential Subdivision, which was built in the 1990s. The record plats on file with Will County have the street as Ademic Lane, but many agencies, including the post office, refer to the street as Walter Ademic Lane. And so one resident had an issue trying to vote when her driver's license did not match the official record. So in response, we're proposing to officially change the name to Walter Ademic Lane.
I wonder who they voted for.
Walter Adamick, he was a previous council person.
Sounds easy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Moving on to resolutions, Council Memo 36725, resolution authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the City of Joliet and the Kankakee County Emergency Telephone Board, CANCOM. So public safety communications need the agencies to work together to establish communication compatibility and mutual aid plans that cross over jurisdictional boundaries. The purpose of this memorandum of understanding is to ensure clear and secure shared talk groups across several jurisdictions. And this is part of the Tri-County Auto Theft Task Force that operates in Will, Kankakee, Grundy, and Iroquois County. Council Memo 36825, resolution appropriating Rebuild Illinois bond funds for an amendment number 2 to the professional engineering services for the Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 engineering services for the Joliet Centralized Traffic Management System Improvement Project. Housekeeping item I referred to before to appropriate Rebuild Illinois bond funds to this project. Council Memo 36925, resolution appropriating Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the Advanced Traffic Management System in the amount of $1.2 million. This is also a housekeeping item to appropriate Rebuild Illinois funds for this project. Council Memo 37025, resolution appropriating Rebuild Illinois bond funds for the County Line Roadway improvement projects in the amount of $895,006. This is also a housekeeping item to appropriate the Rebuild Illinois funds. Council Memo 37125, resolution appropriating Rebuild Illinois funds and approving requests for expenditure authorization of Rebuild Illinois funds in the amount of $420,000 for the construction of the Garnsey Avenue Bridge over Spring Creek Improvement Project. This is also a requirement from IDOT to appropriate and authorize the Rebuild bond funds. Council Memo 37225, resolution approving a letter of understanding with the Illinois Department of Transportation for the maintenance of traffic signals at Illinois Route 53, Chicago Street, and Emerald Drive. So this letter of understanding is required to activate the new signal here. And we will take over the routine maintenance responsibilities, but they will pay us back. Council Memo 37325, resolution accepting a grant of permanent easement for 621 Wheeler Avenue for the IDOT 62R22 contract I-80 and Center Street interchange. So this contract and project requires a public utility easement from the Joliet Park District at West Park for the relocation of the existing water main that crosses I-80. And the Park District has accepted the appraised value for the easement of $3,500. And that concludes the agenda.
Next, we have public comments. Is there anyone who would like to address the council this evening? Okay, please step forward.
Hello, council. My name is Gregory Amos. I'm a local broker with an insatiable desire to become a builder, developer here in Joliet, Illinois. I'm also committed and aligned with our mayor's and economic development vision of making this great city a destination. As an aspiring minority developer, I look forward to building equitable relationships with each and every one of you on the council. If there's any information that you are all privy to, please let's share, connect, and continue to write Joliet story. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the council this evening? Okay, seeing none. I did receive a request for closed session. Is there a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, collective bargaining, land acquisition or conveyance, pending or threatened litigation, after which the meeting will adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve. Councilman Cardenas?
Aye.
Councilman Clement?
Aye.
Councilman Hug?
Aye.
Councilman Moreno?
Aye.
Councilman Mudrin?
Aye.
Councilwoman Quillman?
Aye.
Councilwoman